If your litter box could talk, what would it say to you? Good morning, lovely day, isn't it? Or perhaps, what's up with all the clay dust and chemicals you're laying on me and the cat? If that's the case, consider World's Best Cat Litter. It's virtually dust-free, quick clumping, and lasts twice as long as clay litter. And because it's made from corn, it's chemical-free and a naturally safe choice. World's Best Cat Litter, the #1 selling natural litter brand for a reason.
East Washington Street. This aesthetically pleasing lifestyle store features a collection of goods from local artists, Black-owned businesses, and fair trade products. The owner, Kenya, also offers services to curate your wardrobe and make your home a sanctuary with interior design. Next time you're in downtown Noonan, be sure to stop by Greenhouse Mercantile. Open Wednesday through Saturday until 4 p.m.
Welcome to Connecting Hearts. Connecting hearts of women to resources, information, and to one another. Presented by Creative Heart Studios, 18 Perry Street and Noonan. Now here's your host, Margie Conway.
Hi, I'm Tracy Brooks. I'm the owner of Great Style Salon, located next to the Little Giant's grocery store at 487 Jackson Street, right off of 29. Our hours are from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And on Fridays, we're open from 12 noon until 4. Saturdays, we're open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Please come check us out. We specialize in hair cutting and great scalp massages. And right now, I'm looking to hire 2 great hairstylists. Come check me out.
Hi, this is Margie Conway with Creative Heart Studios, and this is the Connecting Hearts Network broadcast. I appreciate you listening in to us today. It's been a very busy week, and I'm glad I have a chance to sit here and talk with some friends for a few minutes. We have given out tons of our little blessing bags to nurses over last Saturday. We've got some going out at a golf tournament this weekend. We've got some going out at a motorcycle ride. And so if you see anybody with those little bread bags that says, has little white hearts on it and says be kind, then make sure you ask for one, because it's got a lot of good information in there too, and a lot of people that you can make contact with. Today, we're going to talk with Holly Reese again, and we all know Holly Reese is the warrior defender. Her car, when you ride around town, you're going to see it on the back of her car, and I highly recommend that you go watch her YouTube station and see her videos and things about how to protect yourself. That is something, especially in this day, that all teenagers and grown-up women need to know how to do. And it wouldn't hurt for the men that need a touch-up to go watch them either. But we all need to learn how to defend ourselves one way or another. We are not going to talk about self-defense today, though. We're going to talk about sharing stories and how that impacts our lives. And we're going to talk about a new children's book that Holly is writing that is just about ready for release. And she's actually writing one for us adults that's not far from release too. So we may get her to tell us a little bit about that one. But I can tell you that sharing your story makes a huge difference. And there's different ways we can do that, and we're going to talk about that as we go along too. But I know over the years I hid my stories and I didn't tell them. I did find a book of poetry and songs. You know, all us teenagers write our angst out and that stuff that apparently I wrote when I was 13 and 14. And there was a little bit of my story in them songs and stuff that I found. But so that's kind of interesting to look at. But I didn't go talking about things at those points because I really wanted to forget them. But over the years, I started sharing some of how I grew up with kids that was in a middle school class I was teaching, because those kids were growing up that way and they needed to know you can make it to the other side. I didn't share it outside of that room, though, because those kids needed it. I didn't want to give it to everybody else. And then, of course, we all know about 5 or 6 years ago, I started sharing everything everywhere. And that has brought good results about. I mean, it has helped me with my healing. It has brought people to me that needed to make the contacts that we could do, or we could just, talk with each other and comfort one another through things that you'd been through. But I have been toning my story down so it doesn't have every detail of everything, and it doesn't tell all the stuff that's not, what's needed right then. And that takes, a little bit of time. But when we start telling it, we tend to hold back a little bit until we're more comfortable, or we intend to just throw it all out on the table and then pick the pieces up. So, Holly, let's talk about specifically this type of children's book that you're writing. Tell us a little bit about the children's book.
This children's book has been in the works for a long time, and I didn't even know it. It's a story that my father told me when I was little, and I'm going to date myself because it was recorded on audio cassette, and he was a truck driver, and I wouldn't go to sleep without hearing the story. So that story was preserved all this time, and I always wanted to turn it into a book. And it's finally coming to works with a brilliant illustrator that I found locally here, and I'm so excited to be working with him. And it tells the story about what we're all good for. We're always searching for our reasons and what we need to do in life, and the little brown monkey is searching for what is he good for and what's he supposed to do with his life. And we follow his journey through the jungle to find out what little brown monkeys are good for. And reading to your children as a way to bond with them,
Yes.
and even if it's just a simple book, they remember it. And even if it's a simple story, they remember it. And the good thing about this one is it's very colorful, and the release is coming up, and I'm so excited about it.
So are we going to throw a party?
Oh, I'd love to throw a party, and we're actually making little stuffed animals specifically for the release for pre-orders. Cool. So they're going to look like the little brown monkey, and the little brown monkey is so uniquely illustrated that there's not going to be any other little brown monkeys like that out there.
That's cool, and she has a Facebook page and a website for the book going, and we will share those links so you can get on the pre-order for that.
Yeah, and please just email me on that or contact me, but I'm so excited about this. And when I was a teenager, I used to write stories too, but mine were more adventure stories, and then I used to journal all the time.
Yeah. Journaling's been big time in my family. A lot of people do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I found in my grandmother's stuff a book of poems and songs my great-grandmother had written. And we even have some demo albums that she made at the time, and we didn't know that until we started going through the things that someone had taken. My whole train of thought went right then. So when we find those things that's been passed down, like the story from your dad, that means so much more about it. And that's one thing that has kind of pushed me over the last couple of years. And it started when I found my mom's journals. When my mom passed, she had journals, and she had written her book, which is, my opinion on that website. But she had written down all these things in these journals, and that was the thing that was really most precious for us to be able to have. And it hit me at that point that I had my Bible on my phone, I had my calendar on my phone, I had my notes on my phone, and all these things. And if we get one of them big old EMPs, all that's going to be gone. So I got my Bible back out and started writing notes in it, and I got my journal that I keep all kinds of things in. So if I die, my kids are going to find it and see what was going on with their mom at that time. And I've started doing all my journaling and things in that. And you're talking about as we pass these down, what it means to other generations on there. This story is a very specific story of Little Brown Monkey. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. It's been a crazy week. Was there something going on in your life that you were helped to address through the book?
The story helped me realize a journey, and it has a happy ending.
Yeah.
And it was a way for my dad to stay with me, even though he wasn't there. As a truck driver family, you're always separated, so it was a way for me to bond with him about animals, which was something I liked anyway, and to figure out what good places to go and talk to people, and what bad places to go and not talk to people, and to kind of sit back and watch the environments of the place. He put it together really, really well way back then, and I still have the audio recording, so I'm probably going to have that as an audiobook too for other children to listen to.
Cool. What does he think about you putting it into print?
They've been waiting for it for a long time. He's like, are you ever going to get it done? I said, I have to find the right illustrator that would communicate the way the book feels. Because pictures are the most important for a children's book like this, especially for the young ages. And sharing all stories to me are so important. Picture stories, history, people who would sit around and share stories on their back porch about their past relatives. That's history. And if we write it down, that creates our future.
That's true. And you know, I have the grandmother on my mom's side. She passed when I was 10 years old. The only memories that I really have of her is sitting down on the floor while she was in her rocking chair and we were eating cherry vanilla ice cream, and she would tell me things about when she grew up. And, you know, that's, 40 plus years ago, but I remember those things. That and going in there to the homemade fudge plate and taking my finger all the way around the edge where the butter and the fudge was, and doing that multiple times and thinking nobody knew I did it. But those are my memories of my grandmother, is of her sharing things from when she grew up and what happened.
And that's why it's so important to remember those specific things, because they do impact your future. Right. And the people that share those with you, like I remember my mom making cookies and, painting the house and things like that. And those things should be remembered, written down, categorized. Maybe as a writer, you can take pieces of those characters and put them into a book or see that. And that has been, since they've known I've wanted to write for years, they're like, when are you going to get Little Brown Monkey out? And I'm like, I'm working on it. So they're thrilled. And they're waiting for the novel, too. So.
Right. She's got a novel going on. That's part of how we met, because her character in her novel is Dasmel, and I had a sign in my yard that said damsel, so it was just one word, two letters switched in there. You want to tell us anything about the novel going on?
It is an adult novel. It's nothing like the children's book, and it's an adventurous survival story in women's empowerment in a post-apocalyptic dystopian world. So if y'all are interested in 100 or Hunger Games or any type of those stories, that would be the story that you would want to follow. And it's called Life After Silence. So
I did not know the title of that. Okay.
That should probably be released before the end of the year.
That would be good. I've been hearing about that one for several years, so I'm looking forward to that one getting released. We've had another author here that was talking about the process, and when you started sitting down to write it, you said you had to find the illustrator. So take us just a little bit on your journey from the idea of the children's book to the process of getting it where it's at now.
Well, because the children's book was on an audio cassette, it had to be transferred to a digital form, so it had to be hooked up to a digital form. Then I transcribed it to a computer, and then once I got the transcriptions down, then I had to submit it to different illustrators to see what their version of the Little Brown Monkey would look like. And I wanted to have a child or a teenager to illustrate it. So I eventually found a very dedicated teenager in the area who finished illustrating the book. I was so excited because there's a lot of children and teenagers that just won't take things seriously, and he did a really good job, and I'm so excited for him. So I hope this helps him further his career, because he is extremely talented as an illustrator and has many plans that he can use in the future. But the process can be also computer learning, because you have to upload the whole illustrations, make it a certain size, put it onto the Amazon and places where it can be purchased or printed out. And it's a learning curve. It took me a couple years to learn how to do that. And there's a great writers group here in the Noonan area. They're all very supportive of different genres. So learning is like going back to school to learn how to publish a book.
Wow.
It was easier for this one because it was already done in audio, but since I have a slight dyslexia, writing is a difficult thing for me. So getting this done this way and then getting the other one out will be an accomplishment that I can say, yay, I did it. And I hope everybody else enjoys the books too.
Well, the one that you wrote for the children is teaching the children that everyone's unique and they have their own place in the world. I know just when I was little, my favorite fairy tale was The Princess and the Pea. And that one, I've mentioned several times, I knew I didn't belong in that family. And I remember when I was a child, that story so impacted me that I would lay in the bed and try different poses to see if I could feel whatever I had put under the mattress. So when they came to rescue me, they would know that I really was who they needed. And all these years, I'm like, I don't know why I did that as a child, but that's kind of what stuck through me right there. And one of the biggest art therapy exercises that I've done was one that they do with children. They had you draw your immediate family as animals in a setting. How would you draw them? And, even though I had already come to peace and healed a lot from things that was going on, when I drew that picture, just automatically, I'm like, okay, that tells lots of stories about, what was there and what was going on. Anybody just looking at it could have seen that there was a lot going on there. But children need the stories like that so they can identify with the feelings and identify, they're not the little brown monkey, but a lot of kids don't know their place in the world. And now things get so confusing for them. They have no idea of their place for the world. And their idea of that's going to change many times before it gets to where they really need to be.
And the little brown monkey, I like the fact that it's a journey through the jungle, because our journeys in our life always change. And anytime I was going through anything in my life, I always in my mind refer back to the story of the little brown monkey. And because you go from this animal to that animal to this animal, and then you're like, oh, that's where I'm supposed to be. But you have to find your way and your purpose, and throughout your life your way and your purpose changes. So you always need to revisit where you're supposed to go next and who are you supposed to have around you. And that's important for us to learn as children all the way up into adulthood, because our lives are constantly changing paths and careers.
Absolutely. I've done that myself several times. It's I started out teaching, and then I ended up church secretary, and now I'm on the radio. And so there's been different things that has set that through the years to put me where I needed to be. With the children's stories and with them, you having to put it as the monkey in the jungle so they identify with it. The youngest ones, even in the Bible, God used parables, and he would talk about, here's what I'm really saying. Jesus would say, here's a story. And he'd say, and here's what it means. So he would use what they were familiar with to give them concepts that they had no idea of. And so we do that, with our children constantly at school and everywhere else. It's now we are going to bring a little bit of your damsel in here, because you have an excellent line of children's stories that comes with the damsel.
I love the Safe Hearts line, and if anybody's interested in that, you can check it out on my website. But they are written by psychologists. They tell stories. The characters identify with children's needs today, and I think every child should sit down with their parents and have reading time, no matter what it is, because it helps increase their intelligence. It helps bond to communication. And if you're reading them something about safety, they can ask questions and say, hey, that happened to me, or I felt like this. And that way there's an open line of communication and games and things like that. So reading is important. Coloring with your children is important. And a lot of times children are on their iPads a lot. And I just always remember reading when I was a kid, and picture book and reading and laughing and bonding over popcorn in a fireplace is just as important as going to the movies.
Absolutely. I know with my children, we each have our signature story. So with my oldest son, Chris, who I had very young, there was one story called I'll Love You Forever. And it starts off as the mom with the little boy, and he's a baby, and he starts growing up, and all these things that keep saying, I'll like you for always, and I'll love you forever. As long as you're living, my baby, you'll be.
Oh.
And so here he is, 40 years old, And I will still say that to him sometimes. That was our book and our saying. And through that book, in case you hadn't read it, then as the man grows up, the mother gets older and can't take care of herself, so it swaps to the boy as dealing with the mother and says the same things. Then with my daughter, we did we did the Little Brown. Dang it, I can't remember the name of the book. I'm having a rough day today, y'all. The one where I love you to the moon and back with the two rabbits. I remember I love you to the moon and back. And that's how great is my love for you. Well, it's bigger than the moon and back. And so that's what they would say. And then when Chad came into our family as a stepchild, there was one that was, There's Room for One More. And it was one that I had read as a little girl. And the little girl has an umbrella. And she's always accepting more under her umbrella till it's packed very full for protection and stuff. And so there was always room for one more in there. And those made impacts on the kids. Yeah. Now, the damsel stories that we're talking about, Safe Hearts, I have read those books. And each book hits a different type of thing that the kids would go through. And it tells them a story. It even has internet safety. It has gun safety. It has, dealing with tough situations that we don't want our kids to have to deal with, and we don't know how to talk to them. So when you read those books, which are very well written, so don't think if you pick it up it's going to be one way. They are very well written, and you read that book with your child, it opens up a conversation so that you can do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of diversity in those books. And the parent guide, if you don't want to read with the children, it's a good way for you to just communicate with them. We tell one of the stories you were talking about the mom and the son. Mm-hmm. Stories are also in music. Right. So, especially country music. There's a lot of stories in country music. And you sing with your children with country music, and you share how they feel with music. You share how they feel with stories, too. Right. I believe the story my brother liked him growing up was The Wild Things Are. Oh, yeah. And I still will remember that. Of course, those were big picture books with little words, and you remember the cartoons and the characters. And that's it. Well, and it's important for kids to have someone to identify with that is realistic. A little brown monkey running around the jungle is not realistic for them because that's not who they are, but the story part of it is going to try to find out who you are and where you fit in. I think that will be a wonderful aid for children that's coming out that will be enjoyable. So I want to thank you for writing it, because I'll probably be getting it and sharing it with people I know that has the children. Then we would like to talk a little bit about just sharing your story. You share part of it in the book that you're doing. You share much more of it in your adult novel that you've written. And some things that I have been doing in some classes lately is talking about when we share our story so that it can go out and help people and be healing towards us. Sometimes it's hard to do that. And one way to do that is to bring the fictional characters in and have those characters go through your story, and even do it the way that you wished you had, or what you had done. You've been sharing your story for a little while. Let's talk a little bit about sharing our personal stories and how it impacts people. Well, sharing your personal story gives them the opportunity to go, they're not alone. Right. They also can ask questions if they don't understand. When I started sharing my story about being a domestic violence survivor, that it helped me realize that it's okay to talk about it. Right. Because there's a big stigma against that. And there's a lot of stories out there that people don't want to share. Right. That they're like, I'm the only one. I feel like nobody's going to understand. But if you share your story, other people hear what you've gone through, or your ways of getting over something else, and you're that person's, you might not even know it. Right. But you're that person's reason to go, I can do that too. Right. And that could be with anything. It can be with addiction. It could be with survival. It could be with a loss of a child. It could be with a divorce that they're going through. It could be with just being treated badly at work, or maybe growing up as a teenager dealing with bullying. That's so, and a lot of the children, when I speak with the children about bullying, they don't they don't look at us older people and think, well, they were never bullied, they wouldn't understand, but we
Right.
were.
Yes.
And when they hear that, they're like, oh, it's okay to say what's happened to me because they did it too, and
Right.
they're okay, and look at them. And unfortunately, bullying impacts teenagers more than anything right now.
Oh, even on the internet. I mean, it's really bad that it gets to them that way because no one can really stop it or get control over it. You know, used to you go to the principal's office. Now that don't happen.
No, and they have to learn how to protect themselves and be
Yeah.
able to almost run their own survival therapy to have an outlet. They need an outlet, and if they can have their parents, that would be great. But if they have an outlet, like writing is a really good outlet, drawing in the arts, very good outlet, creativity with the arts.
Right. That's one thing that we do at the studio and that we believe so firmly in. You know, I have my healing pieces of art on the wall. We've got where I went to do my the one I call my healing piece. When I went to do it, it just poured out. I mean, it came out, and I had everything I needed at home, even though I didn't know I needed it at the time. And so when you look at that picture, you know, everybody kind of is like, but it tells a story. Each item on that board and everywhere else, it tells a story. Mm-hmm. And then there's two other pieces I have there that tells the rest of the story, you know, kind of. And I've put it on, you know, the blog and the website, and it is kind of odd to start trying to figure out how to get it out there, but you know, just take the first step. On Wednesday mornings, we're running a group called Chronic Joy, and it is geared for people who have any type of chronic illness, whether it's physical or mental. And it starts off with teaching you how to write your story. What is your story? There's more to it than you get when you're just sitting there doing the suffering.
And when you tell your story, you actually realize the truth about it.
Right.
Instead of thinking it. Once you speak it or write it or create it, you see it.
And it's you know, an outlet. It helps you get what's inside out when you can't do it any other way. And like Holly said, music, dance, arts, any of those things that are expressive helps you get those things out of your system. I know we don't have very much more time left here, and there are a couple of extra things that Holly and I are doing about sharing your story. One is I've got a magazine article I got to turn in by the end of this weekend so it can come out this summer about how I got into the business I'm in and the path to that. And then the other one is I have a short video that is going into a summit online about how to share your story. Then by September, Holly and I are making a video sharing our stories for domestic violence that will be on a national level that will go out. So I want to encourage you to, you know, just take a pencil and a piece of paper and sit down and brainstorm. What are you thinking? What's coming out? It helps you deal with problems. Journaling helps immensely. We have all kinds of journaling things at the studio and can do classes, and I have workshops about it, just to get you started to tell your story so it can help heal you, help you move forward, and help other people.
Mm-hmm. Sharing and realizing that you've moved through what you've moved through.
Right.
Go back and read it and go, wow, I was there.
Right.
Then
some of us cannot believe what we've made it through once it actually gets down. It seems like it's just a huge thing we couldn't get through, but now on the other side of it, we are. So that's where your story gets to help other people. So, you know, we greatly want to encourage you to share your stories. If you want to hear mine or Holly's, we both have websites. I'll put the links under the bottom that has different aspects of our stories all the way through it. And we just want it to be able to help you, you know, wherever you're at in your life. Look for the little brown monkey. We're going to be sharing things about that. We're going to have a party. I don't know when, but we're going to do it because we like to party. And that's really about what I have for you this week. You know, we have some good guests next week. We have God's Garden Girl. We have the tea party with her coming up on the 24th. Then we have Dana, who is the regional manager of Brain Balance, and the Peachtree City Director, Mandy, coming on the next week. And then we have Linda coming on the week after to talk about some things going on for kids in the community. So join us on those things. Look for our links, and we hope to see you there. If you're on Perry Street, you walk up and down that door, up and down that street, open those doors, and not this week so much, but normally I'm in one of those rooms. You can yell Margie, and I will come on out. I hope to see you soon.
Hey guys, it's Tamara from 2 T's in a Pod. You've done everything you can to lose that stubborn fat, exercise, eat right, but lately it has gotten harder. I totally get it. You want that summer-ready body, right? Cool Sculpting may be able to help you reach your goals. It's a non-surgical treatment that targets, freezes, and eliminates treated fat cells for good. Ask your doctor if Cool Sculpting is right for you. Common side effects include temporary numbness, discomfort, and swelling. Find a provider at CoolSculpting.com.
Cool Sculpting is FDA cleared to treat visible fat bulges on the abdomen, flank, thigh, bra fat, back fat, upper arm, and under the buttocks, chin, and jawline. It's also FDA cleared to affect the appearance of lax tissue with submental area treatments. Cool Sculpting is not a treatment for weight loss. Rare side effects may occur. Cool Sculpting may cause visible enlargement in the treated area after treatment, which will not resolve on its own and may require surgical intervention for correction. Ask your doctor if Cool Sculpting is right for you. See additional important safety information at CoolSculpting.com.
Your extracurricular activities are enjoyable, but they could be magical. Get the heightened tingle in all the right places with Chingaling. It's the better sex pill for husbands, wives, entanglements that make your sexual experience spectacular. Nights that end too early or mornings that aren't as vigorous? Chingaling, baby. Put a little get up, stay up, and go harder in the bedroom where it counts. Why be good when you can be great? Make your love life magical and order yours today at chingabrands.com. That's CHINGA brands.com.